Welcome to this week's video where I'm asking myself the question, do I want to be a full set guy? Hello, I'm Jay, and as I said in the intro there, I'm asking myself this week a difficult question. Am I going to be a full set guy? And I'll explain the set I'm talking about in a minute, although the thumbnail will have no doubt given it away. Traditionally, I don't try and collect full sets of anything when it comes to my gaming collection, because it's an expensive habit that I can't afford. I'm always in awe of those who do, and there's some fantastic YouTubers out there collecting full sets of video games or various things that they're into. It's just never been my way. I flit around my interest too much to start and likely finish a full set. However, I've said all of that, and I think I'm going to try and go for a full set, not of video games, but video game magazine history, and specifically Edge magazine, which for those not in the UK, is to this day still a UK magazine for video games, although probably not as popular as it was in its heyday. Now you'll notice behind me on this shelf, and it's been there for a while now, I've got somewhere in the region of about 100 to 110, I think it is, maybe slightly more, copies of Edge magazine from various decades, from when it started in the 90s right up to modern day. And I picked these up, the chunk of these, the bulk of these at least, the more retro ones, in this video just here, which was I think 18 months ago when I went on a road trip to Edinburgh to bulk buy a collection from an individual up there. I think I bought about 150 in total. When I got them back and kind of de-duped them, there were a few duplicates. I actually had about 110 unique issues. So I've been thinking about this. I've sat on these for a while. I haven't really bought any more since. I did subscribe to Edge magazine at that point once I bought them. So I've got about a year's worth of the modern ones, which I'll talk about as well. But I decided that recently that I wanted to start picking these up. Now, I'm not going to go hell for leather on this. It's not going to be a video series where every week I add 10, 20, 30 issues of Edge magazine. But I have dipped into Vinted recently and picked up about 20 odd, which I'm going to show you later in the episode. And I've got another 20 or 30 odd coming on Vinted via Vinted and eBay. So I have had a little bit of a deep dive back into this just momentarily. But the reason I wanted to make this video was to, I guess, introduce the fact that I'm now going to try and go for this full set. I don't know how hard this is going to be or how expensive this is going to be. Typically, these issues that I've bought to date range from about £3 to sort of £6 per issue. And if you bulk buy, then people will often give you a small discount. So I've paid, I would say, about an average £4 to £5 for the issues that I've bought recently. There are a few as I'm flicking through that seem to carry higher price tags, some really high price tags for variant covers and things like that, which I won't be going for. I'm not interested in variants. The reason that I've decided to do this, if I'm honest, is that I love video games as an industry. I've loved following it all my life, and as an older guy who's now getting nostalgic for my youth, I'm interested in reflecting on what video games used to be like, as well as still tracking it in the modern day. And I've got a number of books down here, not so visible off camera here, which are modern compilations and kind of reflective looks on the gaming industry in various places, whether it's particular companies or brands, eras of gaming, etc. And they're great. I love them. There's some fantastic books there, and I will continue to add to that collection as well. The problem with them is they're written through a modern lens, so it's looking back on history, knowing what we now know. And what I'm interested in and what I think these magazines do is they give you a window into what gaming was like at the time, how people talked about it, what people thought was happening, what was the big deal at the time. There's no one looking back going, oh, Zelda and the Ocarina of Time, best game ever, and it is a brilliant game. But what did people say about it at the time? Spoiler, it's similar. But for some of these games, we reflect on them in ways that perhaps weren't how they were received. And sometimes games that were really well received haven't aged as well. So anyway, I just wanted to look at these magazines through that term, so as almost like a portal back into another time. There's lots of different ones I could have chosen to collect. As I said, because I bulk bought these Edge magazines, I decided that would be the collection I'm going to go for. I do like Edge magazine for a variety of reasons. I think they're very stylish. I think they're well written. They were a little bit more grown up, or treated the habit as a bit more grown up, even back in the 90s. So I think they age a little better. Although I'm sure there's articles in there that don't age well, and hopefully I'll find a few of those. So in this episode, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you some of those recent pickups, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to try and track this collection. Because at the moment, I'm up to, I think it's issue 420 is the current issue. And as I said, I've got about 110, so I've got a gap to fill there. By the time these additions are rolled into that 110, I'm probably at 150, 160. So it's a nice place to be, but it leaves me lots of scope to add to that collection. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to track it, and I'm doing that in an interesting way using some modern technology. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So before I go and show you what I've picked up and we flick through some of those magazines and reminisce, let me tell you about how I'm going to start monitoring this collection. I decided, much like I track my games collection through an app, one that I pay for on an annual subscription, it's about £10 a year. It's called CLZ Games, and it allows me to scan barcodes, manually search and collate my collection. There isn't really something like that specifically for Edge magazine. There may be something for magazines in general, but I honestly didn't look. And the reason I didn't look is that I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. I decided to use this as an excuse to dabble in some vibe coding, which I've been desperate to do. My job is, in the day job, is very much AI and innovation and technology, which is great. But sometimes I don't find the time, now that I'm a little more senior in my career, to actually sit and do the thing that I love. And vibe coding has been something that's been sort of around now for a couple of years as these AI models are getting better and better. And I thought I'd give it a try. Now, if you don't know what vibe coding is effectively using generative pre-trained AI models, so ChatGPT or Gemini and the ones you've heard of, to write code. And they've gotten incredibly sophisticated in the last couple of years, to the point where I have basically yesterday morning sat down and decided that I was going to have a little crack at vibe coding an app that would allow me to track my issues. So I thought I'd show you how I did it, and then show you very briefly what the output looks like. And then I'll show you in action, and then I'll show you some of the collection, and we'll just chat through what I've got. And that's going to be this week's video. So if that sounds interesting, stick around. If not, then please just walk away from the screen and leave the video running so I get some nice playtime. I'm joking, don't do that. Okay, so let me flick over to my Mac, and I'll show you what I did to build the app in the first place. So this is Codex. This is OpenAI's code-specific platform, allowing you to build not just apps, but also automations and all sorts of interesting stuff that I've honestly yet to properly dabble with. But what I wanted to do in this instance was have a go at building this first magazine tracking app. And it was an iterative process, so the first prompt that I put in here didn't get me the absolute output that I was looking for. But as you can see at the top here, I said I want to build a mobile application that I can use to track my collection of Edge magazine, a UK-based video game magazine company. I want to be able to take pictures of the issues I have in my collection and store basic information against each record, such as issue number, release month and year, and if relevant, a title for the magazine. Then a nice picture that I can take via the app or upload from my phone's photo library that makes browsing the collection visually pleasing. I also want to be able to search the app by different metadata we store on each issue, so I can add new issues as I find them and be sure I don't already own them. So this is something I want to be able to take with me when I'm kind of out collecting, or if I happen to come across someone at a game store selling these, I can pick them up. Or even if I'm just browsing the web, I can open the app and see what I've got when I'm on eBay or Vinted. So anyway, I put that prompt in and you can see that it starts to then respond. So it says here, it kind of digests what I want and starts that build out. Now I've got to say, I've never in my life written a line of code, and I still haven't, even as a result of doing this. Now, what I found as I was doing this process was that, first of all, when it came to running the app, I had to install an app called Expo Go on my iPhone. It's all guided by the AI, so it's quite easy to do. And then run a few terminal commands, which made me a little bit nervous. But it was all copy and paste, and I just put a lot of trust in what the app was telling me. Now, it's probably not the smartest move, but you know, my own risk here on my own machine, so I wasn't too worried about it. So then, as I said, I went through a few iterations. It would show me what it was doing. It kind of explained through the code base what was happening, and I'm just kind of scrolling through here. I'm not expecting you to read any of this, but you can see how extensive what it was doing is. And right at the beginning, the first process of building the app took the longest, and it was a couple of minutes, not long at all. But then everything that then happened afterwards was just me kind of prompting it for iterations. So I had a few error messages that I was copying and pasting as I was trying to get the app running, and it helped me, and it rewrote its own code and all sorts of crazy stuff. Once I'd got it running, and if I just try and find my way through here, you can see I was back and forthing for a while. All of this took me probably less than an hour I spent doing all of this, and I was loving it. It was great fun. So I said here, okay, it's working. I'd like to make some small changes to the app. Can we change the photo upload from forcing a square image, which is what it did by default, to allow me to take a more fuller, I guess, a fuller picture of the issue cover? Can we also add an edit option on the records? Little simple things like that. And it starts to do it. And it's showing me then live in this app viewer as this is happening. And again, I started then to re-prompt it. So can we replace images? Can we try moving things around? I added a dark mode, and I'll show you some of that in the app in a moment. But this went on and on and on. I gave it logos, I gave it more instructions, until I got to a point where I was pretty happy. Then I decided to take my next step, which was to try and work out how to publish this so that I could actually use it. Now, as of making this video, I've yet to achieve that. I am waiting for Apple to approve my developer program enrollment, which costs about £80, so I had to pay for that, and I'm now waiting for that approval. Once I've got that approval, theoretically, I should be able to publish this as a private app on the App Store just for me, and then have it on my phone for as long as I want it. Now, this isn't foolproof or future-proof because I've got no idea what I'm doing, and I don't intend to publish this final app, by the way, as anything for anybody else. I'm not trying to make money with this or even give it away. This is just for me. It was just to try out vibe coding, to try publishing my own app for the first time. I've never done it, and I've really enjoyed the process. So let me show you what the app now looks like. So if I just pop my phone up here, you should be able to see, first of all, this is kind of the home screen of my app. So on the screen here, you've got, I've just scanned a couple of issues just to show you how it works. I just scanned in 4 quick ones. The intention here is to have many, many more. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see we've got this kind of search option, which is, I've done it as liquid glass. So it's got that kind of transparency. It looks a little bit more like the modern iPhone interface. And that allows me to search through all the records. Don't really need to when there's only 4, but you get the idea. Got a couple of issues preloaded. So if I just pop this one open, you can see I took a quick picture, nothing too fancy. I could make this much slicker, but I just want to make sure I've got a record. And then I've captured the issue number, the date and year, and then the title. So it's picked that up as well. I then, as I said, I was iterating in the app, and I was like, right, I need a dark mode. So I've got a nice little toggle up here, which allows me to flick into dark mode. I actually think I prefer it in dark mode, but at the moment, like I said, it's not published, so it's not remembering these settings. I have the option to add a new record, which we'll look at in a second. And then I've got my filter menu, and in here, again, I iterated a couple of times to get this how I wanted it. Originally, it was just built into the home screen as part of the app. I wanted to change that and actually make it, kind of tucked away and keep the app as clean as possible. But again, here I can filter my selections by the different years that I've got. I can sort them oldest to newest. I can even change the column view. So if I just want to see more covers, but smaller, I can shrink them. And when I did that, I also told it to take away the basic metadata and just to show me the issue number, so I can see that very quickly. And we've got the option there to just select a range. So for all that was quite slick. Then I looked at adding a record. So when we come to the add record screen, we have the issue number, we can put the date in, we can give it a title, we can add a picture either straight from the camera or from the photo library. And then I wanted to try and get a bit clever with it. So that was all working pretty well. And I thought, I wonder if I can use AI to read the cover and try and pre-populate some of this to save me typing everything in manually. I've got 100 plus of these to do. Could I do that? And it does work. So I've got an example I'll show you here live. So here is issue 329, a more modern one. Just grab that from the selection that I've picked up recently. A cool picture of Anthem on the front. What a missed opportunity that game was. I loved Anthem. The demo is incredible. I actually like playing the game just paper-thin story and too obsessed with the idea of being massively online. But such a good game if they ever decided to revisit that and do it properly. But anyway, so I grab my camera, I point at the issue, and I'll just snap a quick picture. I'll happy that, I'll use the photo. And now I can manually type the details in, as I said, but if I press this little AI button, it will then push that image off via an API to OpenAI. It uses their O4 model, and you can see it's very quickly come back with a confidence record as to how much it thinks it's captured. I click OK. So at the top, issue number 329, that is in fact correct. March 2019, also correct. And the issue title on this one, simply Anthem, which is the text most prominent across the middle. And I was blown away when I managed to make that work. I had a lot of faffing to get the OpenAI API key in to make that work, but when I did, I was over the moon, and there you can see that record is added. So that's my app. I'm really impressed with it. Like I said, I can nip into those records. I've got the option to change it, delete them, start again. It has got some duplication effort in there as well, so if I try and put the same issue number in twice, it won't let me. Now, I don't know what that's going to be like. I've got a couple of duplicate issues where I've got variant covers, so I'm going to have to do something like issue 25A or something like that, I think, to get around it. But that's fine. I don't mind that because it does prevent me from duplicating effort. And once this is filled up with the full collection, I'll be able to browse them and look at them by year of release. You know, and I could in future, I guess, start to put more metadata in. Maybe there's even a way to connect to an external database where there's a much thorough record of every issue that I could then sync up. But for now, I was really pleased with how that worked. So that's my app. I hope you like it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and any ideas to add to it as well, as I work out how to publish it and then how to continue to develop it over time. So that's how I'm going to track this new collection. As I said, here's what I've got so far. I think I'm going to get some slip covers to protect them if I'm going to do this properly. Maybe even think of a different way to display them. Maybe even just having them in some sort of like, you know how you see comic books often laid out in those long boxes and you can flick through? Maybe something like that would be cool. I don't know about that yet. Anyway, again, your thoughts down below, how best to store, display, show off and make accessible a collection like this. But let's hop off to the other end of the room and I'll show you what I've picked up, what additions I've made, and we'll have a little flick through. And then what I want to do at the end is also show you, maybe just from one or two of those issues, a little bit more, you know, show off the cover art. Some of them are stunning, and maybe even pick out some of the articles as well. So here we are over kind of in the gaming corner of the room rather than my desk. And I wanted to show you a few of the issues that I picked up, at least in the kind of bundles that I've collected them in. And like I said, we'll have a deeper look at a handful of these over at with a proper camera, and I'll give you a proper view. But first of all, I will quickly highlight this bad boy here, which appeared yesterday. I pre-ordered this when it was announced last year, and mine has come with a bit of a split in the front of the plastic, but I don't care because I won't be keeping the box for this. I'm not buying this to keep box. This will go on display and be used. But if you don't know what this is the Nintendo Switch Online member only preview, I think it is, or pre-order for the Virtual Boy, which is for the Switch or Switch 2 to dock into, and then they're going to release, I think on Tuesday, as I'm recording this, the new Switch Virtual Boy software on Switch Online, which will then be able to run in this to give you that kind of Switch experience. Give you the Virtual Boy experience. Now, I would love an actual Virtual Boy. They're quite expensive, and I think getting one in good condition that works and then buying the games is just probably something I don't need to do. But it will be cool to have this one to kind of give me the experience and to just have on display. I suspect it will spend more time on display than it will spend being played, but I'm fine with that. And as I said, this week's video would have included this, maybe even been about this, had it not been for the fact that this turned up and then I realised I couldn't actually play it until the software released in a couple of days' time. But if you're interested in my opinions on this, I'll share them in a future video, but there you go. So anyway, back to the Edge magazines. And first of all, I managed to get a chunk here. So let me show you this wad. These are all sort of under 100 in terms of the number issues. So we've got issues 2, 3, 4, which I'll show you in a second, 14, 15, one in the 30s, a couple in the 60s and 70s. But I thought it was interesting, and I will get my hands on issue number 1, but as you'd imagine, that was a little harder to track down. But I bought 2, 3, and 4 from the same seller. So you saw these in the app. We've got here the CD-ROM and the Silicon Dream graphics to die for. Quite funny, isn't it, when you see this robot dude? He did the rounds back in the day, I remember that, and this would have been December what? 90? Check, do any of these have them? Oh, 1993, there you go, it's in fact right next to it on the issue. So 1993 when this all kicked off, and then rolling into 1994. And it's funny, some of these cover images don't really look like anything. But yeah, so we've got a few issues there. I said issue 15 has the Neo Geo CD on the front, quite cool. And then, as I said, a few here in the 60s and 70s. So we've got Life After Lara, Soldier of Fortune. That one's not the best cover, very dark. I'm not sure how that one kind of got through. That dude on the front there. And then a really nice one here, PS2. What a machine. What a machine. There's a few issues actually that focus on hardware when new consoles come out. And those are the ones I'm most interested, I think, in recapping, because, you know, the excitement for these new consoles when they were announced back in the day, I remember it. I don't get as excited now. They don't tend to be quite as exciting, the new console revisions, but back then, you know, when you saw a PS2 for the first time or a GameCube for the first time, you were like, what the heck is this? You know? Then we moved into a chunk here, quite a few. These are in the these are the 2000s, 2000s. So 90s, 160 something to 190 something. So varying again, some cool covers. We've got Batman there. This one's another good one. I like it when they don't have, well, they do have the logo, but so this one, it's hard to tell. There you go, it's just catching the light there, you can see it. But if it's matte and you look straight on, you don't even see the logo, but then look at the tip and you get that embossing, the light catches the Edge logo. So a good one there for the Wii. Some of these are like in such good condition as well, and the guy who shipped a lot of these to me, every one of these came in its own cardboard sleeve. It was insane, but I brought them as a bundle. But look at this one, immaculate condition there. So some of these don't look like they've ever been flicked through, and maybe they haven't. Maybe someone just had these on a subscription and just kept them coming, but then maybe didn't read them. I've got that problem now. I don't read the ones I'm ordering. They just go straight on the shelf or on display. Here's another cool one. Nice cover on that one. I'll have a look at that in more detail. A couple others here. This actual set specifically have some of the better covers, which I'll show you in a second. I did manage to order a duplicate of this one. Annoyingly, I did these late at night, and I'd gone through my checklist that I'd previously made on Notion to see which issues I had and hadn't got. Hadn't got this one, so bought it, and then did a second look at somebody else's. Hadn't got this one and bought it again, and then realised I'd bought it twice. So, you know, happens. Then we moved into, so just kind of getting towards the end of the 2000s as we hit the 2010 mark, and these were the issues 200 and above. Again, another really nice cover on this one. We'll try and look at it in more detail. Look at the holofoil on that one for Mass Effect. Really cool. Good one here, good fun, colourful one here for the PlayStation Move. Again, with a nice cool back on it, like that one. And then finally, a couple of more modern ones. So these are in the, well, actually not that much more modern. This was 2012 for Assassin's Creed. Nice cover on that. And then we were just looking at the Anthem one from 2019. So those jumping me forward. And then I don't know what these are accompanied with. So issue 110, I think it is the awards issue. So we'll definitely have a look at that one in a minute. And then this one must have come with one of these magazines. Free with issue 168, which I've got in here. That's the one I think I bought twice. Did I? Yes, that's the one I bought twice. Didn't get the issue, this insert twice, so this one we'll definitely have a look at. So this one's called Get Into Games, and I think it's, so it's Edge's Guide to Working in the Video Game Industry. And based on the fact that it came with issue 168, that would have been in late 2006. So it'd be interesting to see what they were saying about getting into the games industry back then. So again, we'll have a look at that in a second. So those are the pickups. These will all be inserted in the coming days or weeks into the collection as I start to work out how I'm going to store them and where they're all going to go. And as I said, I've got another 25 on the way that I ordered the other day when I was storing this. So I'm going to continue to dip in and out. I'm going to try and get that app published first though, so that I can start actually tracking all of these, and there'll be a big effort one evening, probably in front of a movie, just to go through picture record, picture record, picture record. You get the idea. So anyway, let's hop over to the desk. I did buy a brand new mount system just to put the camera over the top of this and do this justice. So hopefully it'll look good when I get there, but I haven't set it up yet. So I'll do that. For you, it's going to be, you know, a click of the fingers, but for me, it's probably going to be about half an hour while I get this all lined up. So let's head over and do that. Okay, so here we go, back over at the desk, and I've got this camera rig set up now. You can see the hole just out of shot there. So I just thought I'd flick through a couple of the issues. I've not taken loads of them here, and I've tried to pick out an article inside that looks interesting to. So first of all, I thought we'd start with the Get Into Games. So if you look at this one, again, this was free with issue 168. So it basically just goes through, as you can see here from the introduction, so profiling online programmers, gameplay programmers, art directors, animators, designers, all the different kind of roles that you could have within the games industry, at least as they were detailed back in 2006, as well as information on studying, university life, etc. And we're not going to dissect this one in too much detail. I just thought it was a cool thing to see, and I wonder how this stands up now to what modern gaming development is like. I mean, you know, it's one of those industries that's always interested me, but also seems incredibly competitive and quite tough on those involved. You can see here some quite interesting stuff. Again, profiling individuals, their kind of roles, what does that mean, how different companies are hiring. Seems to have been heavily sponsored by EA, this one, so I don't know what that looks like these days, especially as they're under their new ownership when that gets done. So there you go, just a little flick through different university courses, where you can go for university. Again, these would have been UK heavy or UK focused, because that's what Edge magazine is. So that's one. Then I thought we would go to the lowest number that I've got so far. So this is issue 2. As you can see, the graphics are really quite different to what came later on and what we got used to in gaming. But I'll just jump through to the article that I'd highlighted here. So this was all about CD-ROM. Let's check these out as we go. CD-ROM, the truth. Now, what I thought was quite interesting here, I've not read the full article, so I do need to have a look at it, but even just the bold bit here, when CD-ROM really takes off, expect gameplay to take a nosedive. So again, I've not read that as to why. I'm sure it'll be quite an interesting read. I might actually have a flick through that at some point. What an interesting perspective though, that pre-CD-ROM, there was a big worry that it was going to have some sort of effect on gameplay, as well as I'm sure lots of other positive things that people were expecting. And then we've got access to here some of those CD-based consoles that were coming, so the 3DO, we've got the Amiga CD. I never had any of these. I didn't even have a Mega CD back in the day. Always wondered if that was worth getting into, but didn't have one. PC CD-ROM, of course. The CDI, I had a friend who had a CDI. I always used to rave about it. Never quite understood it myself. And then the PC Engine CD-ROM. So. And then a great advert there for Jurassic Park, and what a game that is on the Super Nintendo. Hard as hell, but loved it all the same. So there we go. That was issue 2. And then we jump forward to issue 79. I picked this one out, as I mentioned it earlier, the PlayStation 2 being adorning the cover, but actually the issue here talks about the competition. So it says here, Sony's Power Tower and its bid to take over the world, plus what Nintendo, Sega and Microsoft plan to do about it. So we flicked forward here to, you know, the classic console wars. We've got a bit about each of the consoles. So if I flick through here, you'll see we start with the PS2. What a machine, although quite funny that the disc's in upside down, I guess just to show off the blue disc. It's got down here some of the tech specs, so you can see the CPU, the GPU, the RAM. Quite funny to see that now when you consider what we're working with. 128-bit eMotion engine and 4 megabytes of VRAM. Then we've got the Dreamcast. What do they have there? It's 16 megabytes of RAM. So you get a bit of an idea, again, what the consoles were doing and what the competition looked like. And then we've got Dolphin, which of course I think went on to be the GameCube, question mark? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Dolphin was the GameCube. Still Dolphin at this point though, so obviously it hadn't been given its appropriate code name. And then we've got here the Xbox, which we all know about as well. Back when Xbox was good. Come at me. And then again, you can see here the different companies, what they're doing, and kind of. So it says here, Sony is the reigning champ after PS1, the battle-scarred veteran of Sega, the gentle giant in Nintendo, probably still the gentle giant today, and then Big Brother, Microsoft. they're far in the distance as far as PlayStation are concerned now. Of course, you'd probably add in PC now, which was still a thing then, but is increasingly popular amongst gamers. And then we move on to the awards issue. Thought this one would be a fun one to look at. So this was issue 110. This was awards published in 2002. So again, here we'll just have a quick look at who they were giving their awards to. So we'll start with Game of the Year. Now this year it was Halo Combat Evolved over here. And second place went to Rez, which is an interesting choice. I had Rez back in the day. In fact, of these three, Halo was the only one I didn't actually own back in the day, as I didn't have an original Xbox. We've got Rez here, we've got Super Monkey Ball in third place. I played a lot of Monkey Ball back in the day on the GameCube. Then we have our Publisher of the Year. So let's have a look who they give it to. Sega got Publisher of the Year, with Sony becoming second and Microsoft third. I wonder what justified giving it Sega. 12 months have witnessed an absolute vindication of Sega's decision to adopt a multi-platform publishing strategy. Given the death of the Dreamcast, it's almost poignant that the launch of both Xbox and GameCube have benefited from Sega's expertise, particularly since Monkey Ball is still the finest title available on Nintendo's next-gen hardware. Interesting take. Developer of the Year here, we've got Nintendo with Konami and United Game Artists. I don't even know who United Game Artists are. What did they do? Buck the trend. Oh, so they were Rez and Space Channel 5. Interesting. Okay, so very much linked to their Game of the Year choices. Innovation of the Year. First place was Metal Gear Solid. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Eco in second and then Rez in third. How funny that Metal Gear beat out Rez for innovation but wasn't in the top 3 games of the year. Graphical achievements. Again, some replication here. Rez. And then Eco. Eco did look stunning on the PS2. Little surprised that Metal Gear Solid 2 wasn't in there. Jet Set Radio Future instead. I suppose it's a stylistic choice. Technical Achievement of the Year. Who's that gone to? Halo, Shenmue 2 and then Metal Gear again. And then Audio Achievement, Halo again, Rez and then Metal Gear Solid 2. So a bit of duplication there as you'd expect. Hardware Innovation, Xbox winning that one. Second was the GameCube and third was the GBA, by the looks of it. Interesting. And then that's the Wedges. Biggest Disappointment of the Year, Red Faction. Worst Press Release of the Year, Peter Noble. Vaporware Award for not appearing, The Getaway. It did eventually come out. Best Release of the Year, Simon Byron. Best Mainstream Coverage of the Year, The Guide. And Surprise of the Year, Grand Theft Auto 3. Interesting. That was out that year, but not in the awards picture. Then we move forward a little bit to, I just picked this one because I thought the cover was great. And like I said, some of these covers were brilliant. Anything with Mario on is always going to be a winner for me. But this issue focused heavily on Mario Galaxy. What a game that was. So here we've got some really nice colourful spreads with some beautiful screenshots from Galaxy, amongst other things. Oh, a bit of Uncharted as well. Crazy, I think that was at the same time. And then this one I picked really only for the cover. There's a certain gang runner on in the video game market that would love this, I'm sure. But I picked this one for 2 reasons. One, the cover is cool. But interestingly as well, this is an example of the variant covers I mentioned. So you could have had this with either Ryu or Ken. I'm not planning to collect their different variants. That's not something that's in my future. But if I flick forward to the article here, it's all about the new Street Fighter. So 2D or not 2D, Capcom puts the fight back into the fighting genre. Which version of Street Fighter was this then? Is that 4? 5? Tell me in the comments. Can't remember. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing to try and work it out, but look at that. Lots of really cool stuff about Street Fighter, some artwork there, love a bit of that. And then, oh, interesting, we're over here to talk about Rez again. Or is that Rez? Is that the artist behind Rez? Couple more to go. This one again, I picked mainly for the iconic cover. Look at that. Grand Theft Auto 4. And this one's all about the making of. So, got a whole article here about the making of Grand Theft Auto. And I think this actually covers from previous titles. It's not just Grand Theft Auto 4. So we've got a bit of here about GTA 3, Vice City. So again, I did the artwork of Vice City. I was never really into Vice City. Of all the GTAs, it's the one I played the least, but pretty cool. And then look at this, some aerial shots of some of the maps and a cross section with some of the wireframes. GTA San Andreas, what a game. I've watched some videos on how people have been modding the hell out of that on PC and making that look like a modern game. Quite incredible. And GTA 4, of course, one of my fondest memories is getting, is it Nico? Yeah, getting Nico drunk and then having him stumble around and having the effects of alcohol affect the game. That was a really cool one. And then this last one, I've really put in here for two reasons. One, because the cover is cool, but two, I also need to correct myself. This is not Mass Effect. I didn't look closely enough. In fact, it's a game called Dust 514. Now, I don't remember that game at all. Now, what era are we talking about here? 2009. I was still well into, well, I've always been into gaming. But yeah, let me know, what was Dust 514? Did you play it? It was console, apparently. It was due to come to. It was coming from China, which is interesting. I wonder if this game just never got released, or if it did. It passed me by. But anyway, what do you think? Looks pretty cool. That's some sort of sci-fi shooter. But there you go. So as I said, that's this issue, or this episode even, of my videos. And we've spent the whole thing looking at these really cool Edge magazines, reminiscing about the past and kicking off what will be now my attempts to try and get the full collection. So let me know if you've got any advice on how best to do that. Are there any particular issues I need to look out for from a price perspective? I'm hoping that I'll be able to pay that kind of £5 to £6 per issue mark. That feels reasonable. I mean, a magazine's going to run you that now. And even looking at this, 2009, this was £4.50, so not an unreasonable price. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for sticking with me. I'm sure this hasn't been a short one. I haven't edited it yet, of course. Obviously, I'm still recording, but maybe 30, 40 minutes, if I'm wrong. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. I will be attempting another stream next week. I'm still having problems, despite my best efforts to try and get over the upload issues. Last week's stream stopped halfway through for no reason. And again, ISP related, I think. I'll try and get that sorted. But thank you for sticking with me. Let me know your thoughts on the collection down below and where I'm going with it. Then any ideas or things that I need to know about. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. But that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.